United States opens an embassy in Cuba, and the Castro government does the same in Washington more than 50 years after shutting them down and taking their ranker home. You will still find a very split call on whether this is a good thing. Those who say all America's doing is rewarding a repressive regime, more on part two of that discussion in our next segment about Iran, or we are finally seeking to make positive change for a population that desperately needs our help. All right, pick your side. Let's get to work. First on the dance card, born in Santiago, Cuba, who came to America with his family at the age of 4 and now a Hispanic activist, Raul Mas. Joined by Forbes senior political contributor and co-host of The Daily Wrap, weeknights at 7 Eastern, right here on Newsmax, Rick Ungar. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. Raul, I'm going to go ahead and begin with you on this. I mean, is this a day of infamy, or is this, quite frankly, a day of redemption? Where do we put this?
Listen, I put it in the day of infamy category, and I am reminded that in April of 1961, a Democratic president by the name of John F. Kennedy betrayed several thousand Cuban Americans who landed on Cuban soil to restore freedom to their homeland, as well as their CIA advisors who were on that beachhead with them. And now here we come, 2015, and yet another Democratic president has once again sold the Cuban people into slavery. There's no other ways to sort of sugarcoat this. That's exactly what it is. You've prolonged the regime of Fidel Castro for another few years, okay? We received absolutely nothing from this deal that I can see of any substance whatsoever, okay? And here the Cuban government has the glory of raising the Cuban flag over this embassy with goose-stepping honor guards. It's shameful, absolutely shameful. There's no other words to describe it. The people here in Miami are very, very upset about it. And that's our call down here.
All right, now, Rick, we heard a couple of things in there. Goose-stepping, of course, a reference to Nazi Germany. We know all about the communist side of things. And I'm going to play devil's advocate here, Rick, and let you go ahead and do this. Everything that we've done since the 60s hasn't worked, so why not this?
Well, that's just it. Look, I'm really very, very sensitive to people of Raul's generation and his parents and what they went through. However, you know, you can't keep these things going forever. And when you have an opportunity to begin the process of making friends with an enemy, you need to take it. Now, Raul said something really interesting. He said it prolonged the Castro regime for a few more years. Well, that would seem to indicate that somehow the Castro regime would otherwise have ended immediately or this year. And I don't think that's the case. The reality is the Castro brothers can't live forever. They're very old. They're not going to be around much longer. What's better for us and what's better for Cuba? Putting the wheels in motion so that the United States can have some influence over the next generation of leaders there of it, and let things continue with a new breed of leaders picked by the Castros. I think this is a no-brainer, what we've done.
And Raul, I'm going to tell you something. I have a lot of friends in South Florida, and they're under the age of 35, 40, and those people, the younger generation, they say, yes, let's get on with this. We're tired of this. It really is, and I know from firsthand experience, only the older generation right now that seems to be unhappy with it.
Listen, there's a certain amount of a generational split on this, okay? But if you talk to the dissidents on the island, they will tell you that they are extremely upset, okay? Because basically, by the U.S. agreeing to sort of these diplomatic agreements with the government of Cuba, without really opening the door toward the reestablishment of freedom of the press, towards the reestablishment of any sort of human rights in Cuba, has basically undercut the dissidents, literally cut them off at their knees. And I would remind people that, yes, you may not think that this kind of repression continues in Cuba, but I can tell you it continues to this day. I had the experience last Friday of meeting a recently released political prisoner, and he wasn't released, he actually fled the island, okay? And his story is just unbelievable. I mean, the beatings, the torture that continues to take place in Cuban prisons, unabated, all right, continues to this day.
Okay, let me stop right there. I've got about 45 seconds left, and Rick, I want to throw it to you. Let's put it this way. He's right about this. There are many people who say this is still a communist government, a repressive government, and all we're doing is we're feeding into their hands.
Yeah, but and I'm sure that everything Raul is saying is absolutely true. But the reality is, Raul, things have to change. The dissidents haven't been able to change it in all these years, nearly half or more than half a century. At some point, we have to assert ourselves, get things going on a better track. I get that current people who've been fighting this war are not. Well, let me finish. Current people fighting this war are not going to be happy. I understand. There's a reason the younger generation are saying enough already. We have to put it on the right track.
Okay, got to stop you right there because
somewhere.
of time. Raul, 15 seconds to you.
Who do you think is smarter, President Obama and John Kerry, or the Castro brothers, who've basically been playing successive administrations, Republican and Democrats, for fools? When we hold all the cards, we should have pushed a hell of a lot harder.
That's a bizarre question.
Okay.
You think they're going to live forever, Raul?
We're going to have to stop it there because we're all out of time, but I'll tell you what, this is going to continue for a long time. Raul Mas, Rick Ungar, gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Next up, another government who hates us, yet we may not need them to win over a population.